my book and wax friends. I'm Amber if you're new. Welcome back if you're returning. I post about all things books and home fragrance, and today's video is my January wrap up, my books and bars series. So these are the books that I did read during the month, and then some of the wax bars I used along with the books because I do enjoy melting home fragrance while I am reading. So let's jump into it. First, let's take a look at January's official TBR. So as you can see, of the 6 books that I had on the TBR, I finished 4 of them. And the 2 that I didn't finish, they were actually both DNFs. The first being Witchlight, which I had been excited to get to. And I even did like recaps of the books beforehand. This is the final book. As I started the book, I realized that I still didn't really know much about what was going on, and I could care less about what I was reading, which is sad because I really did love the series. So for now, it's a soft DNF. Maybe in the future, I will reread the series where I'll start at the beginning. That way I can just, go all through one book to the next book, without any huge years worth of space between the books. So unfortunately, that one was a DNF. And then my second DNF, as you saw, was the Baby Dragon Cafe. I love cozy fantasy most of the time. I love it. It's one of my favorite genres, but at the same time, it can be hit and miss for me, or there'll just be books that I'm not digging, I'm not getting into. And this, unfortunately, was one of them. I was just bored, and I got through a few chapters, and I was like, you know what? Let's move on to books that I'm actually enjoying, because I wasn't really enjoying this one. So, unfortunately, I DNF'd that one. Okay, but let's move on to the ones that I did read. I don't know if I said at the beginning, I did finish 10 books during the month of January, and 4 were from my official TBR. The first book that I read was Town of Shadows by Jessica Scarlett, and this was a 5-star. I loved it. So this is a book about Dorothy St. James, and this takes place in a fantasy version of London during the late 1800s. And in this version of London, there is magic. There are people that have magic, but they, by law, it's illegal to use magic. So you can have it, but you can't use it. And if you do, you'll be executed, type of thing. And so Dorothy has magic, and she can't control it very well. And so she pretty much hides in her house with her father. And her father is a scientist. And they're trying to figure out a way to prove that people that have magic aren't necessarily evil and going to overthrow the government or whatever. And so they're working on something that will prove that sort of thing through their scientific works that they're doing. Well, her father ends up getting kidnapped by a man that's called the Rook, and he has kidnapped multiple people, and these people, if they come back, if they're found, end up crazy, pretty much. They aren't the same afterwards. And so her dad gets kidnapped by him, and she ends up asking for aid from someone that she doesn't like very much, but someone that knows who the Rook is. So she's trying to get information from this guy, and his name is Ashley Gardner, and he supposedly knows the Rook and can then lead Dorothy to rescue her father. But to get that information, she has to go through kind of these trials. He wants to test her through different things, because ultimately he doesn't want to be a hero necessarily. And so he's kind of keeping her from what she wants to do. So was this great? Yes, I loved it. I loved the imaginative world of this fictional London. I love the magic system that was in it. I really enjoyed both Dorothy and Ashley, and some of the extra secondary characters as well, like Miles, who is Ashley's friend. And I loved the tension between Dorothy and Ashley, and the banter as well. And this left on a cliffhanger, and I about died with the cliffhanger. The second book does come out this month, and I'm so happy that it did, because although I think that one is kind of, from what I've seen from earlier reviews, kind of leaves on a cliffhanger as well. So that makes me nervous, because it is a trilogy. And so who knows? Who knows? But do I highly recommend this one? Absolutely. 5 stars. So Town of Shadows. The next book I read, and this one I read on audio actually, is The Blonde Who Came In From the Cold by Allie Carter. It's the second book. The first one is called The Blonde Identity. So this is the second book in the series, and I gave this what did I give this? A 3.5 stars. So this is about the sister of Zoe, who is the main character in the first book. This is the twin sister, whose name is Alex. And she joins, it kind of jumps back and forth between when she first joins the CIA, and then she wakes up in this room tied to a former partner of hers named Michael Kingsley, and has no idea why she's there, or how she got there, or anything like that. So there's a mystery that they are, number one, trying to solve and get out of the situation that they're in. I liked this book. I did not like it nearly as much as the first book. I did not gel with Alex's character as much as I did with Zoe, her sister. And I didn't feel the vibes really all that much between Kingsley and Alex. I felt like Alex was a little too sarcastic, like constantly, and it got to the point where it was getting a little bit annoying, I have to say. I did enjoy the adventure, but the plot wasn't as good as the first book. We did get some cameos, and I did enjoy that. Towards the end of the story, there were some cameos, so I did enjoy that aspect of it. But overall, it was fine, but disappointing compared to the first book. And content, because this one did have some content in it. There was some harsh profanity, but no F-bombs. And then it was closed door. There was allusions to things happening, but there was nothing on page. So that is The Blonde Who Came In From the Cold. Next up was a reread. Yes, a reread of the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber. So that is book 1 in the trilogy. I did read this, and these are the, what are these? Lilac Library dust jackets. So that's why it actually just says The Ballad of the Archer and the Fox, Volume 1. But this is Once Upon a Broken Heart. And it was really reread. My rating for my 4th time reading the book, it was 5 stars. Again, I adore this series so much. I talk about it all the time. Highly recommend it. Even if you didn't like the Caraval series, or you didn't get through the Caraval series, you can read this series, which is a follow-up pretty much to Caraval. you can read it. I always suggest reading the Caraval series first because you do get a little bit more backstory, but you're not going to be confused necessarily if you don't read that series, which I did enjoy. I enjoyed it. 3 to 4 star series for me, but these are like a God tier. I adore them so much type of books. So highly recommend. Talk about them all the time because they're the best. So anyway, that's Once Upon a Broken Heart. After that, I read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This is one of the final books I needed to read by her. I just now have Mansfield Park to read, and I don't know if I'm going to get to that one just because I didn't really like the movie versions, and I didn't like the relationship all that much in Mansfield Park. So we'll see. It would be nice to say that I completed all the Jane Austen books, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I did finish Northanger Abbey, and I would rate this 3 stars. My lowest rated from all her books so far. Most have been 4 to 5 stars, 4.5 to 5. I don't think I've rated any lower than 4.5, but I can't remember for sure. This is about a girl named, what is even her name? Catherine Morland. And she's a young girl from a large family. She is kind of sheltered, and she has a very romantic sensibility where she loves reading. She loves getting lost in stories, especially like Gothic style stories. And she isn't very familiar with the world. She gets asked to be kind of a companion to the wife of this couple that are going on vacation to, was it Bath they were going to? I cannot remember. I think it was Bath. And it's about her coming of age tale is pretty much what it is. She meets a man named Henry Tilney, who she thinks that she's in love with. And there's a bunch of different things that go on during the whole thing. So I enjoyed it, but it was the weakest out of all the ones that I've read by Jane Austen. So do I feel, disappointed that I did read it? No, I don't. It was good. Just not amazing like her other ones. And this was for the prompt shortest book on my TBR. This was the first book I read, actually, that was a prompt, I think. Oh, no, it wasn't. The Blonde Who Came In From the Cold was multiple POVs. So that is that one. Then after that, I read Beyond the Filigree Wall. This is by Melissa Wright. And this was for the prompt pink cover, which is absolutely pink. This one is very much pink. And this one I ended up rating 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It's about a girl named Antonetta Ostwind. This is a fantasy book. So she lives in this world where there are fae that are kept out of the human realm by this filigree wall, which, is in the title. And Antonetta is set to become what is she set to become? I can't remember what it is. Kind of like the sheriff of the land. I can't remember what they called it, a chancellor or I don't know. I can't remember what they were called, but it was pretty much like the sheriff of their city, of their land, so that she can protect her land from fae, which she realizes are actually getting through to the human side. But she is one of the only ones that can really see them. Everyone else just sees kind of humans or whatever else. It's like trick of the light type of thing. But she knows that there are actually fairies getting in and causing havoc and killing and that sort of thing. And when she was little, her mother was taken by the fae prince. And from that point, it was when she could see the fairies. And so she is trying to become this authority figure, and she's set to become it. And this man, Gideon, right? Yeah, Gideon, he is also a figure of authority in regards to kind of like a judge. And he opposes her from becoming the sheriff. I know it's not sheriff. I wish I could remember what it's called, because I cannot remember what it's called. But anyway, so he opposes it. And then there's a lot of things that end up happening in it that I was not expecting at all. It took a twist close to the beginning of the story that I thought was really clever. And I thought it was an entertaining twist, and it really kept me reading to figure out what exactly how she was going to overcome what happened. I felt like the world could have been a little more well developed. I enjoyed Antonetta as a character. I enjoyed her friend. And I enjoyed the back and forth between her and Gideon. I felt it was a little bit too insta-lovey. That didn't happen at the beginning, but when it did happen, it was like, okay, all of a sudden you guys are in love with each other. That didn't make much sense at all. But overall, I thought it was a fun book, 4 stars. This is a clean book. There is no content in it, and I really enjoyed it. There are 2 other books in the series, and I am planning on eventually getting to them because I did really enjoy this book. So that is Beyond the Filigree Wall. The next book after that was an audiobook, and that is Violet Thistlewaite, or wherever I end up putting the graphic, probably here. Violet Thistlewaite is not a villain anymore. And this was by, I don't remember, you'll see the name right here, Emily Klempholtz or something like that. You'll see the name in the picture. And this one I gave a 4.75 rating. This is a cozy fantasy that I loved, almost 5 stars. This is about a lady named Violet. And she used to be what was called the Thorn Witch for this evil villain that was overthrown at the beginning of the story. And the hero of the land who helped to overthrow the villain, she gives Violet a chance. She gives her a second chance and says, now you have the opportunity of becoming something else, something more. You don't have to be a villain. And so from that point, she decides to move to this town. And this town is actually still in the same area in where the villain that raised her had her in the castle in the town. And she decides she wants to open a flower shop and grow flowers and bring happiness to people around her. Well, who she rents the shop and the room from is 2 siblings. One of them is Nathaniel Marsh. He is a twin. I can't remember the girl's name, but he is a very prickly, grumpy type of character, and he wasn't happy when he found out from his sister that she is renting out half of their space to Violet. And he makes tonics and stuff like that, and is trying to keep his parents' business afloat. So this was his parents' business, and he's trying to keep it afloat. So that's where the story begins. I really enjoyed the thought, the exploration of redemption and can you change, which I absolutely believe anyone can change. I like the exploration of that in this book, and it's actually making me a little emotional. I thought that was really well done. You got to see some trauma that Violet and Gideon, did I say Gideon? No, Nathaniel. Gideon was the last book. That Nathaniel both had to work through. and how they came to rely on each other as well, as they were healing from their trauma. And it was wonderful. It was so sweet. It was so fun and magical and cozy, like I said, but there was a little bit of stakes to it. And I thought it was great. As far as content goes, it had just mild language, but there were 2 open door scenes. It was easily skippable. I was able to skip them. But just so you're aware, because as I've said in the past, I like to give content if you are like me and like to know those things. So that was Violet. Thistlewaite is not a villain anymore. After that, I read Rules for Ruin. This is by Mimi Matthews. I really love the cover on this one. And this was for the prompt historical fiction. So this was a historical fiction romance. And it is about a girl named Effie who is part of this, what is called the Crinoline Academy. I think it's called something else too. But she is taken, it was kind of like an orphanage, but like academy to create for women or girls, for them to learn proper etiquette, but how to take care of themselves and to kind of overthrow the patriarchy type of thing. And it was a lot of fun. So Effie ends up being tasked by the headmistress of the academy to go and kind of infiltrate this guy who is very high up in the political sphere, who is opposing a law that people are trying to pass that would make it so women had rights to keep their own property. Because at the time, during the late 1800s, mid to the late 1800s, or maybe it was earlier, maybe it was Regency era, women, once they're married, they have all that's theirs becomes their husband, and they have no right to anything. And so there's a law that's trying to be passed by people to make it so that women keep their own property and money and all that, even after they're married. So this politician is trying to oppose it. And so Effie's come to try and infiltrate and find out some things about this guy that would ruin him. And it goes from there. She ends up meeting also a man who is trying to manipulate this guy. And what was his name? Okay, Lord Compton is the guy that she's trying to kind of overthrow, ruin. And then Gabriel. Gabriel is the one who's also is trying to influence Lord Compton to clean up where the slums are. So he is kind of an overlord a little bit, a gang leader type of thing, grew up in the slums, and he's trying to make it a better area for the people that are living there. And so he's blackmailing Lord Compton as well. So Effie and Gabriel butt heads, yet they find this attraction with each other. And so it goes from there. It was fun. It was a fun book. I did enjoy it. Did I even say what I gave this? I don't think I did. So my rating for this was 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I know there are more books in the series, and maybe someday I'll get to them, but this was a fun read. So Rules for Ruin. After that, on audiobook, I read In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. Now, I preface this to say I knew going into this book that it was going to be a lot more explicit, but I wanted to finish this series because this was the final book in the When in Rome series. And because of that, I wanted to see what happened with everyone because it was the final book. My rating for it, though, would be 3 stars. So this was the lowest out of all the ones that I read. And that was mainly because of the content. So there was way more. And Sarah Adams was known for being a more clean author, but she, over time, specifically with this series, she has gotten more and more explicit in her books. And unfortunately, I don't like that stuff. To each their own. She has a right to write what she wants, and I have a right to read what I want. And unfortunately, it was a lot. Not only the open door scenes, which thankfully she does put at the beginning of her books, like where those will happen, so you can skip them. But not only that, but there was a lot of lusty talk and thoughts between the two main characters, like a lot, like constantly. And then there was a lot of harsh profanity as well. And so, yeah, I wasn't a fan of this one. So the main character, so this is about the sister Madison in the whole book series. Each book is about a different sibling. So Madison was the last one that needed her book written. And then James, who is an old family friend, the best friend of Madison's brother, Noah. I think it was Noah Walker. I'm pretty sure his name's Noah. And James has been in love with Madison like since they were really young. And Madison had no clue. Well, Madison went off to New York to become a chef. And she realizes there, even though she loves cooking, loves being a chef, there was some tragic, not really tragic, but traumatic things that happened to her while she was there and working in some of the kitchens. And so she has a little bit of PTSD and not really a love or confidence in herself in regards to being a chef anymore. Well, James ends up finding out because Madison accidentally calls him. He ends up telling her, hey, I'm opening a restaurant on my farm, a whole like farm to table type restaurant, and I want you to come and be the head chef for my restaurant. And so that's pretty much the premise of it. There's actually not a ton of stuff in regards to the buildup leading to the ins and outs of opening the restaurant and stuff. I was hoping there would be a little bit more of that, but there isn't. This is more of a just Madison trying to work through her trauma. And so I enjoyed seeing the glimpses of the other siblings and what's happening in their lives. And I had hoped that there would be a little more wrap up with all of them, but there was still some, and I enjoyed those things. But I love James. Like I said, I didn't really connect to Madison. Out of the three sisters, she's the one that I connected to the least. And that led, I think, to less enjoyment as well. So I don't know if I said, but I gave this one 3 stars. And yeah, that is In Your Dreams. Just know if you are one that thought Sarah Adams wrote clean books, just be aware that that one is not clean. And I won't be reading any more of her books. But like I said, to each their own. I'm not judging anyone that likes to read super spicy stuff or anything like that. It's just, for me, it's the last one that I plan on reading from Sarah Adams. Okay, after that, I read The Otherwhere Post. This is by Emily J. Taylor. Was this a prompt? No, this wasn't a prompt. I just felt like it. This is a YA fantasy, and I ended up rating this one a 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot more, actually, than the other book I read by her last year. I think it was last year in January, and that was Hotel Magnifique. I think I gave that 2.5 to 3 stars. So this one I did enjoy more. So this is about a girl named Maeve, and she, let me see, Maeve, yeah. She starts the book thinking that her dad, who ends up being like this evil villain, is pretty much what he's been demonized by the world that he lives in being the one who supposedly destroyed another world. So the worlds, there's 3 worlds, and they're connected by these doors. And at one point in time, people from each of the different worlds could go through the doors to the other lands. So if you're familiar with the Darker Shades of Magic series, so it's similar to that, like there's Red London, Black London, that sort of thing. These 3 worlds are pretty much the same city, but they're different from one another. So at one point in time, before one of the worlds was destroyed, people could travel to all the different worlds, and part of their families could live in one, and then they would live in a different one. So that sort of thing. So when one of the worlds was destroyed, the doors to the world burnt up, and there wasn't any sort of travel anymore, except for those that were part of the Otherwhere Post, who were kind of like mail carriers type of thing, to where they could take letters and whatnot from one world to another. So the girl in this, what did I say her name was? Maeve. She ends up receiving at the beginning of the story a mysterious letter that claims that her dad, who she thought was this evil villain from what happened, actually was innocent of the crime. And so she's like, where did this come from? Because this person didn't leave their name or anything. And so she ends up figuring out that if she can infiltrate the Otherwhere Post and become a postman herself, she would be able to track the letter and figure out what this person knows, and hopefully clear her dad of this crime that he had been villainized for. So that's where it starts. So it was a fun read. What was her name again? I keep on forgetting her name. So obviously it wasn't super memorable for me. So Maeve and Tristan, who ends up being kind of like the head postman's son, who has a lot of innate abilities to where they feel like maybe he can restore the doors that would lead to the different worlds back. They kind of start a friendship. He ends up mentoring her, even though it's a reluctant type of mentoring. And yeah, it was fun. I thought the relationship between the 2 of them was a fun little relationship. I liked them as individual characters, and I liked the mystery of it and where the plot took the story. It was a good book. So 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. So that is the Otherwhere Post. Then, last but not least, I finished the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, which is the Ballad of Never After. So again, this is Lilac Library dust jackets on these. And my rating, 5 stars. 5 stars. It's a God tier series for me, so it was still 5 stars. A billion, zillion, infinity stars. I love the series so much. If I had to pick a favorite of the series, I love all 3 books, but if I had to pick a favorite, the second book would be my favorite. But again, as I said, I highly recommend reading the trilogy, even if you didn't like Caraval or you just don't have any interest in those. Pick these up because they're so good. Okay, moving on to the home fragrance I used with the books that I read. Now, all of these, like if they were audiobook, I didn't do home fragrance because audiobook, But in regards to the ones that I read physically, these are the wax bars that I decided to melt with them for one reason or another. So the first one I have is Jammy Time. So this one I decided to melt is all because of the vibes. So I was like, you know what? Jammy Time feels like it would work just because a lot of this book took place at night. And it's giving me, see the swirls. It was the vibes of it. I was like, I feel like this one would work really well for the scent. And this is a great scent. This is a very like soothing, calming type of fragrance, and it's amazing. So Jammy Time. Then for the next book, what was my next one? Yeah, Once Upon a Broken Heart. For this one, if you know, you know, apple spice season. So Jax, the Prince of Hearts, he eats apples constantly. So I had to pick one. I had to pick one that was apple-y. And so, yeah, apple spice season. This one's really good. It is an apple cidery scent, very strong, very delicious. This will be leaving at the end of February, though, for the new catalog. So I'm so excited. New catalog is coming in March. And so fall, winter scents, for the most part, are leaving. So that one will be going away. Get it while you can if you are interested in home fragrance. It's amazing. So strong, so yummy if you love apple cider type scents. All right, after that one, for Beyond the Filigree Wall, I decided to do Iced Balsam, and this was a scent of the month in, I think it was in December, still available. It is Iced Balsam, so this is a nice, like, wintry ice pine type of scent, and with the wall aspect of this, keeping out the fae, and there is a forest surrounding the land where they are, where some of the fae can get through. It just was giving me those vibes with that scent. So I felt like that was a good choice to go along with that one. Then after that, for Rules of Ruin. So Rules of Ruin, I ended up doing Cinnamon Bear. So Cinnamon Bear is a very like red hot cinnamon candy type of scent is what it smells like, and it works really well for the sassiness of the main character in this one. I felt she's a little bit on the spicy side as far as her temperament goes, and so Cinnamon Bear felt like it would be a good option for the book. So Rules of Ruin, Cinnamon Bear. Then after that one, for Otherwhere Post, for this one I decided to do Wild Pine and Linen, and this one is a very, I mean, it's exact self-explanatory. So it's got this evergreen note mixed with linen, and it seems like it would be a weird combination, but it is actually really nice. And I felt like with the two main characters and the whole travel through worlds aspect of it, that this one just felt like it would be a good choice. I just was pretty much like, ooh, what mood am I in for? And that one fit my mood for while I was reading. And then last but not least, for the Ballad of Never After, I chose Velvet Cashmere Woods. This is another one retiring at the end of February. This is such a pretty scent, you guys. And so I wanted one that kind of epitomized, you know, cozy love vibes. This is like a true love scent to me. And so I felt like it would be a good option for the Ballad of Never After. So that is it. Those are the books that I got through and the wax that I melted to go along with them. Let me know what your favorite read for January was, and have you read any of these books, and what your thoughts are on, if you have any opinions about Sarah Adams and her deciding to not be a closed door author really anymore. Let me know thoughts down below. Like I said, to each their own. I'm not judging anyone. not judging her for deciding to be that way. But I'm just disappointed. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And until next time, take care. TBR.